What's going on, guys? This is Braden from Advanced Mid Hockey Advising here. And this week we have another special episode here where it's more of an interview slash podcast style video. If you do like this kind of video, feel free to absolutely smash that like button, hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell, and share the video. It means a lot. It really lets us know that you do like these kind of videos. And if you do as well, feel free to drop a comment down below and let us know your thoughts on this. And if you have any questions throughout the video too, feel free to send us an email at info@ahadvising.com and we'll get back to you as soon as we can. Anyways, enough of that. So this week we have Cassidy Herman on our show here. Cassidy is our newest women's hockey advisor. Cassidy's played at the, NCAA D1 USports level. So she's really played at a high level of hockey, and she really knows what she's talking about when it comes to hockey. And we really believe that she's going to be a great advisor. So anyways, without further ado, welcome to the show, Cassidy.
Thank you for having me, Braden. It's nice to be here and finally be a part of the AHA team.
Yeah, no, for sure. We're glad to have you. And I guess to kind of kick off the episode here, just, kind of tell us a little bit about yourself and, your hockey career overall, how that went.
So I'm from Ottawa, Canada, nation's capital, definitely home of hockey for sure. I grew up playing for the KGHA, so in Canada Girls Hockey Association. And from there, I transitioned to what would be the equivalent of a men's junior A team or double A team, which would be the Ottawa Lady Senators. And they played in the PWHL, the Provincial Women's Hockey League. So that's a collection of teams in primarily obviously in Ottawa and then in the GTA, so Greater Toronto area, and has some of the highest level of women's hockey that you can play as a minor or U18.
Cool.
From there, I was being scouted by multiple schools. I had a handful of schools looking at me for sure. I was definitely a hot prospect back in the day as a defenseman, obviously. And I ended up committing to the University of Maine. So I was there on a full scholarship and their NCAA Division I. I was there for 2 years, and due to personal reasons, I came back to Canada and decided to play USport. My decision was play back at home. I wanted to be in Ottawa, so that was between the Carleton University program and Ottawa University. I ended up going with Ottawa U. Had an absolutely fantastic experience there in my past 2 years. I remember my first year back, I was one of the league's all-stars, so the RACQ all-stars. I belonged to them. I also managed to make it to a Hockey Canada showcase, so I've played at national levels as well. And then I made our U Sport all-star team. So that was all in 2018. So a little bit about myself. I was really involved in the community in both Maine and Ottawa. So I coached multiple minor girls teams and everything like that.
Yeah. Very cool, very cool. And I'm sure the coaching, kind of transitioned this nicely to the advising here too. So that's awesome stuff. How did you like the experience? Like, how can you compare the experience from the NCAA D1 women's hockey? And then if you compare that to the U Sports, what would you say, like the caliber of hockey, or just the experience altogether? How can you compare those two?
Mm-hmm. So I'll start off by saying that personally, I feel that the level of play between NCAA Division I and our U Sports team, so the RACQ is the strongest women's league in Canada at a collegiate or university level as well. I would say it's very equivalent, quite honestly. It's definitely a different style of play, for sure. In the ECACs or Eastern League that I played in for Maine, it was almost, you could relate it to football in a sense, where it was very rigid and static, and you played and studied a lot of systems. While in U Sports, specifically, I found the play was a lot more fluid. We still played within systems, of course, but it was less rigid and there was a lot more space for creativity and also input from specific players as well. We were all very, very involved.
Got it. Yeah, that makes sense, because I remember when I played down in the States at Western New England, again, it was very, very structured, at the NCAA level. Whereas like at the junior level, anyways, when I played, it was more like you were better able to be more creative and stuff like that. Could still be creative at the NCAA level, but it was more like, rigid, structured, work hard type thing. Whereas, the junior level for me was a little bit different. So it's kind of cool, the different comparison as the NCAA D1 level at Maine, where it was a bit more, structured and stuff. And then at the U Sports level, you were a bit more allowed to have a bit more freedom, be a little bit more creative. And also it's cool that you said that the caliber is, relatively similar. So that's good to know for, young women hockey players out there trying to make that decision, especially the Canadians that have to make a big decisions, when it comes to cost and stuff.
A similarity between the two would be, regardless if you're at the Div 1 level or if you're in U Sport, it's extremely intense and regimental regardless. Your entire life revolves, or your existence for a period of time revolves around hockey.
Yeah.
Like, definitely, for sure. So essentially, hockey consumes you. Like, your entire life revolves around hockey. You could relate it to having a full-time job that pays for your school on top of attending school, which is essentially another full-time job, especially if you're attending school full-time. So you're out on the ice probably 6 or 7 days out of the week. It's a full week. There's lifting sessions every week. There's recovery sessions. There's pre-game, post-game, and private video sessions. You have nutrition meetings as a team. You have nutrition meetings individually. And not only that, but when you're on the ice again, you have defensive sessions. You have PP, like power play. You have penalty kill sessions. And not only that, but now you have to keep up with your academics, right? You have academic meetings, you have study hall, obviously your own health, you have doctor's appointments that you're mandated to go to. You have obviously physical or athletic therapy appointments in order for upkeep on your body. And there's training camps, fitness testing, and that's just all throughout the season. That's not even off-season training. And not only that, but if you're an introvert, there are an obnoxious amount of group chats that you're going to be a part of.
That's so true. Like you're describing my experience too, and this isn't to scare people by any means. Like, it's just to say that you are kept pretty busy and kept a pretty high standard, and you have a lot of things going on if you're a student athlete at whether it's the NCAA or U Sports level. So that's why I always tell people time management skills as a student athlete is the most critical skill you can probably master, because if you don't have that, then all the little things in your life kind of start falling apart. So it's really important, that you have good time management skills and you're able to do all these and more and still, have a life and stuff like that. So, but it's good that you're saying this because, not enough players know this. So it's really, really important to get that out there. So transitioning away from the college hockey life a little bit, tell us a bit about your experience at the, kind of the junior equivalent level for women's hockey.
So I'll take you back, honestly, to my first time out on the ice. I think we all remember that moment for sure, right? Is those first couple of moments. And then I'll lead you up until the PWHL. But right away, like, I noticed or obviously I didn't have the self-awareness, but my parents noticed right away in fundamentals and novice, it was evident that I was the least skilled player out there. And if you were an outside looker or an outside person looking in, Brayden, I was the definition of like an ankle bender. It was brutal. However, like, honestly, like, looking back, I didn't make in, Adam and Pee Wee, those like AA teams, which is the highest level you can play for girls hockey at that time. There's no such thing as AAA. I remember I played C and double B, and I don't regret it at all. You know what I mean? Like, the biggest piece of advice I can give to someone going through a situation like that when you're not making those teams is this is a time to set really stable foundation and build very good habits, because those habits are very hard to break later on once you're older. And not only that, but through living those experiences, you learn life lessons, right? Like, you learn how to have discipline, you learn how to develop a work ethic, and also how to develop perseverance. And that definitely puts you at an advantage, especially if you learn those lessons at a very young age. Moving through your life later on, you have that experience. So after that, obviously training really, really hard. Second year or first and second year bantam is when things start to become a little bit more serious. And it's a step-by-step process. So obviously when you're younger, you're trying to build that foundation. Bantam, midget is when you're trying to own your skills and make it to the PWHL or junior level league. And when you finally reach junior, that's when scouts are starting to look at you. So moving back to that bantam area where you're trying to own in on your skills, that would be a time. And personally, what I did was to invest in a training program. And so a training program external outside of what your regular league or hockey program offers you, because meeting basic requirements of a team doesn't cut it. That's not what is going to make you succeed or get you to that next level.
So yeah, no, awesome stuff for that. I was wondering too, so now you're going for your bantam or midget level or whatever, something like that. And then, I want to know a little bit more about the process, how you made that jump, to the junior hockey level. Like, did you go to a tryout or something? And then from there, once you made the junior hockey level, how was that experience? And also, like, what did you do to kind of set yourself apart and then get recruited and get an NCAA D1 commitment from there?
So usually our league, our season ends wrapping up with provincials in April, and then we have a couple months of off season. And so in that off season, girls are usually training, doing off ice programs, power skating, etc., which I'll get into a little bit later. And after that off season, around August is when tryouts actually happen. So I believe once you get into the junior league, it's more of a training camp. And they take place over the course of, I think, a span of 2 weeks, from what I remember correctly. That may obviously change, like COVID permitting, etc. And then after the team's made, we have an exhibition season. So that usually starts in September, give or take, after a couple of practices as well. And then we finally get into league play. And throughout league play, we have tournaments like dropped in and out, like over the course of the year. That's kind of how it works. In regards to training and off ice, how I made the PWHL was I put together, obviously, I identified what I wanted short term. So I made short term goals for myself in order to make that transition from Bantam to the PWHL. I worked on specific areas that I knew were my weaknesses and honed in on my strengths. Obviously, developing those, which would set me apart from the rest of the players. One specific strength was skating. I've always been known for very, very exceptional and technical skating. And in women's hockey, like that's kind of the name of the game, without like all the hitting and stuff like that. If you're super fast, you can be places in certain times. But anyway, yeah, that's what I did is I identified what I wanted. I asked myself, what do I need in order to get those things? And from there, I just started kind of, obviously my parents helped me with this as well. We would take on the role as advisors and we'd be able to do that for specific players. It's making connections and networks. I went to power skating. So a really well-known power skating coach in Ottawa, Shelly Kettle, she's a figure skater, all of the best skaters in the world, technically, figure skaters. That's where we learn all of our edge work from, right? So I did that. I did a lot of off-ice training as well, so strength and conditioning. And not only that was I at specific facilities, I did a lot of work on my own. So I set standards and goals for myself. I worked on my shot, I think 3 times like a week. That was a realistic goal I set for myself. I would do cardio on my own. So I'd go running. And you also had to pass fitness tests. So I got an idea of what those fitness tests would look like, obviously from coaches and general managers. And it's just all repetition. Essentially, I would try and mimic those tests as best I could at home and just repeat, repeat, repeat. Another thing I did too was I tracked all of my progress. So I quantified everything. That way I could see actual results. And so from there, I was able to make the PWHL team my first year coming out of Bantam. You can play in the PWHL for 3 years. So I was there for 3 years. The time there went really well. I'm not going to lie to you. It was a big wake-up call in terms of learning how to manage time, like we talked about previously. Again, in the PWHL, since we're from Ottawa, like Canada or Ottawa Lady Sens, and the Canadian girls are from Ottawa, and the rest of the teams are in GTA, we would have to travel down there basically every other weekend, sometimes for like 4 weekends in a row. So there was a lot of road trips. There was a lot of school that was missed as well. I think on my report card, I missed like a month and a half of like high school effectively for
Yeah.
1 year. And then imagine that like times 3, right? So it's staying on top of schoolwork as well. It's learning strategies on how to study, like throughout a bus. It's making time to study. And it's obviously you don't have to do this all by yourself either. Like one thing that really got me through being very young and playing in the PWHL and traveling consistently was having good relationships with other girls on the team. And so you don't have to be necessarily close to everyone, but having those like couple of girls that you can really bond with really, really helps. So like I remember I was an assistant captain, and my captain and I, Kamiko Marinacci, she ended up going to play for Princeton like eventually. So we bonded really well. There were a couple instances where we had exams like that Monday, we would get back from a Sunday road trip, and she would always help me with like my biology, and it's just really good memories, right? So like you're on a bus for 3 hours, and it's like, why not study? Why not have fun studying with the girls around you? You know what I mean? Like, why not make it a game in a sense? And so that's what really got me through the PWHL. I'd say in terms of scouting happens all the time. So it's the concept of when you think no one's looking, there's always eyes on you, right? So that's not only on the ice, that's off the ice as well. And it's how you carry yourself off the ice, how you carry yourself during pregame warmups, how you carry yourself traveling from your locker room to the lobby, how you carry yourself interacting with opposing team members, right? Are you a good sport? Like, are you a good person? And so you are being watched 100% of the time. And you don't always know who's a scout either, right? So you have to be very wary of your interactions with people. Obviously, if you're being a decent human being, not an issue. But that's that. So it's consistent. They show up to your league games. They show up when you least expect it. Sometimes they'll show up at your practices. They'll show up to multiple tournaments. They're everywhere. So there you go.
Nice. Yeah. So the main points that I can kind of take away from you, and I agree with so much of what you said, is that you have to first of all hold yourself to such high standards, have goals, have good habits in place, have good systems in place that you follow, that are regimented like that. It's really important. Have a good support group. Have fun throughout the process too. That's really important too, to keep you going, and also that you know there's always eyes on you, and this is so true. You never know who's watching, right? And even if no one is watching, usually there is, but even if no one is watching, you are watching yourself, if you think about it. So if you cheat a day, if you don't work as hard as you should, well, that, and it does indirectly affect your confidence too. So overall, just holding yourself to really high standards like you did yourself, I think is super, super important. And that's the key to being successful in not just hockey but at anything. So for sure I could see why you got that NCAA D1 commit. Like you said, you're not you probably weren't the most talented since day one when you were young, but you really worked hard at it. You had good systems in place, and you got that commit. So for all the girls out there that think they don't have enough talent or whatever, yeah, talent's a little bit important, but I think just having a good work ethic and having good standards, good goals, good systems in place is really, really the key to succeeding and eventually getting a commitment at a USports program or an NCAA D1 program, whatever your goal is. All right, so kind of moving aside now from the hockey career, great stuff talking about it, by the way, but just kind of going more into the advising section now. So my question for you is, why did you start advising? Why were you considering it? And why did you come with us specifically?
Mm-hmm. So really my intention with this is I want to empower the next generation of female hockey players that are up and coming, and not only teach them how to advocate for themselves and negotiate in terms of hockey, but in all aspects of life. And it's far more complex than, just what your grades are you a good skater? What are your strengths out on the ice? Like this is a woman who's an athlete navigating early adulthood and thinking about her future, right? And that's what I had to go through and figure out on my own. So if I can be a mentor and pass along or transmit knowledge like intergenerationally, like I'm more than happy to help. Really, like what I want to do is I really just want to make like future leaders and who are these like women who are like these unstoppable forces of nature and flourish and succeed no matter what they end up doing, quite honestly.
No, that's awesome. And like that's honestly kind of like my goal too with this, right? I think having a good mentor that can really guide you in the right direction, it really, really, really makes a big difference. I had some when I was younger too, and it really, really helps a lot. And if, for me as well, if I can do that with, hockey players out there and help them get to the next level and help them not only get to that next level, but develop as a person too, that
Mhm.
nothing more fulfilling than that, right? So it's really nice. Now, just kind of, asking the other question too here,
Yeah.
why did you choose AHA specifically, just for context?
So the reason I chose AHA specifically is because all of us have been through, and I know for a fact, all of us have been through this process of this hockey-like industrial complex, or literally the Church of Hockey, and we all pray to the hockey gods. We've been through it. We have the experience, we hold the perspective, we know the ins and outs and things you probably don't even think of.
Yeah, 100%. No, for sure. And yeah, no, that's awesome. I'm glad you chose us again, and I'm glad you're really doing it for the right reasons, which is the reason why we brought you on the team too. And kind of like as a last question here that I want to ask you is, what's your main message to female hockey players out there?
So my message to the girls who are up and coming is to be very, very well prepared, because you're going to be expected to perform and function, regulate yourself, and somehow maintain balance under very, very high levels of stress.
100%. Yeah, it's so true, because you have to be so well prepared, because if you're not, then it life will and hockey will just find your weakness, right? Like
Mhm.
circumstances will come if you're not prepared for them. They will come, and it'll be tough for you. So obviously, none of us are perfect. We can't prepare perfectly, but the more preparation you can do, the more you work at things, the better that the outcome will be, the better you'll perform in everything, and not only hockey but in life altogether. So I think that's a great ending message for the audience here. So again, Cassidy, thanks a lot for coming on the show. It really means a lot, and again, we're super excited to have you on the team. If you guys like this style of video here, if you haven't already, absolutely smash that like button, hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell, and share the video. If you have anything you want to talk to us about, throughout this interview, feel free to drop a comment down below, or even email us at info@ahadvising.com, and we'll get back to you as soon as we can. All right, so that is it for the episode. We hope you enjoyed it. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll catch you on that next one.